As you have already heard, Dave Shearin's going to be bringing the message today. He's here with his wife, Sean, and their son, Isaiah. And I heard that Isaiah may actually be involved in this. You ready for that? You have butterflies? I have butterflies before I get up here. All right. Street Life Ministries, before it was Street Life Ministries, was associated with Redwood Church and a number of other churches around here. And it was, I'll let Dave tell the rest of the story, but it was years and years ago that there was a vision to move what was, or to add on to what was going on in Menlo, and to do that here in Redwood City. And through that, you'll have to tell the number. There must be a couple dozen churches that have aligned with Street Life and that help them both with volunteer time and with money and with food and everything else. And in our congregation, we probably have about 30 or 40% of the people that have at one point somewhere along the way been associated with that. So we have very good participation in that. And we're looking forward to Dave's message. And as part of Missions Month, supporting this both with our volunteer hours and with our dollars. Just so you know, for volunteer hours, this is much, much easier than either MITS or Right Choices, okay? So as far as being local and accessible to us. So with that, Dave, come on up and bring the message.
Cool. Thank you so much, man. Right on, brother. I love you, man. All right. Did I have this on? Yeah? Nobody's shaking their head, so I can't tell. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good morning. I just wanted to say, you're talking about things, about Thanksgiving, and before I get into my message, I want to just tell you some things that I'm very thankful for when it comes to this church. One is that Redwood Church has been a part of Street Life Ministries, Street Church, for over 7 years. Way back when we were just in the Menlo Park train station, Micah, Zach, the Agoffs, there were so many, Richard Irier, and so many of you folks that came down and served at the Menlo Park train station way before we even started Redwood City. And then since we've been a part of Redwood City, the involvement of Redwood Church has been huge. One thing I've come to realize is that anybody who becomes a part of this ministry, when they start to give in service and in-kind donation and all that, the churches just go full in. When you fall in love with what God is doing with the homeless in this area, you can't but see how he's working and doing a major changes with people's lives here in the peninsula. And a lot of the churches that come to partner with us see that, they recognize it, and they just get completely involved with this ministry that God has created. And so a few years ago, I felt like God was, my wife and I, we got married, we were living in San Mateo, and it was really hard to be a part of the homeless in Redwood City, and we were feeling this crunch of commuting, because I don't know if you guys realize, but it's getting a little crazy in the Bay Area. Just to get from one side of Redwood City to the other is almost insane sometimes. And so I started to pray. I said, God, please, if you can open up a place for us to live here in Redwood City, but I told God exactly what we can afford, and I was starting to write that on prayer cards, and I actually had people tell me that that's insane. And I said, yeah, but God's in the insane business. He can do some pretty crazy things. And all of a sudden, boom, a home opened up. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And I thought to myself, well, shoot, I need an office. I really need a place that I can work and be a part of. Because I was working out of my home, and I don't know if anybody here works out of their home, but it's really hard to, at least for me, I have a little bit of ADD. And so for me to work in my home and not get caught up in other things, it's really hard. And so I was talking to Josh. I said, Josh, you know what? It would be really cool if it was possible, if Redwood Church had any space available to allow me to have an office here. And I want to thank all the elders. I want to thank the congregation, because right behind that door is my office. And you guys in-kind that to the ministry and allow us to be here. And it's given me a huge ability to be right here on the ground floor with Street Life Ministries. So when somebody's in need, if the Redwood City Police Department calls me and needs my help, boom, I'm out the door and I'm right there. It's also allowed me to have a beautiful relationship with your pastor, Josh. And now that Matt and Corinne live here on the property, I've been able to talk to them and get to know Corinne. My son, I go to pick Isaiah up from school. He goes to Redeemer. He comes here. He does my homework. and then Corinne allows him to go play basketball and on the jungle gym. And it's, you guys are a family. That's what I'm trying to get at. You guys are a family. Jennifer Doolin, she's your bookkeeper. She's now our bookkeeper. We have this tie with you guys. Like, I don't know if you realize. And it's really cool to see. So I consider you my family. I consider this my home, just as much as our home church. We go to PCC, but we're all part of one family. We're all part of the body of Christ. And I just wanted to, from my heart to you, I wanted to say thank you for that, because you guys have helped me and my family to do a lot of things by having this office here and being so close and so locally connected. And now you guys are, this Thanksgiving, your church is going to cook and serve our meal. Pastor Matt is going to preach the word. So lift him up in prayer. And I just pray that sometimes when we have somebody new come down and share the message, sometimes some of our folks might show up a little, I don't know, loaded. That may be a word to use. So I'm going to be lifting Matt up in prayer for that as well. Not to scare you, Matt, but you'll be all right. They'll respect you. But it's not as how should I say, as like here on this pulpit where everybody's here, we showered up, we're ready to go and hear the message. Sometimes Street Life Ministries is pretty raw. And so I want to explain Street Life Ministries to you a little bit. Let me grab a few things really quick before I get into my message. I have a few items. I know you guys are doing backpacks and socks for us, but I just wanted to grab. Oh wow, yeah. So I just grab these items here really quick. I'm going to use these in a few seconds here with the help of my son. So for those of you who don't know what Street Life Ministries is / Street Church, Street Church, that name was actually given to us by the folks on the street 17 years ago when Tony Gapstone, who's a dear friend of mine, a pastor at PCC, actually had the vision and he founded the ministry Street Church. He was there one night, and one of the guys from the street came running across the train tracks at the Menlo Park train station and said, "Did I miss Street Church? Did I miss Street Church?" And Tony was actually trying to think of like a name to call this new ministry, and he's like, Street Church. And it has stuck ever since. Like, literally, like we turned, 7 years later, I came onto the ministry, and then we started to turn it into a nonprofit. Because one of the things I realized really quick was that because they were so connected to PCC as a church, and it had launched out of PCC, when I came on, I wanted to branch it out, and I felt like every time I would go to another church, like Redwood or like Menlo Church or Redeemer or Sequoia or, Grace Presbyterian, Grace Bible Church. We're connected. We have 17 churches that help support this ministry. But what I noticed is that churches have a really hard time funding and fundraising and supporting another church's ministry, right? So what happened was we felt really, went to talk to Gary Gadini, I talked to Brian Wren, a few of the elders at PCC, and so what we decided to do was turn it into a nonprofit 501c3, which became Street Life Ministries. Street Church, that name was already taken. We tried to get it, but it was already, somebody had already labeled that and had turned that into a nonprofit. And they have a great ministry in Colorado, but they got their 501c3 in California, so I couldn't get it. I know, right? But the funny thing is, though, is no matter how much we brand this ministry, no matter how much we got logos at Street Life Ministries, coffee mugs and T-shirts and everything else, guess what? Everybody on the street calls it Street Church, right? Everybody calls it Street Church because guess what? It's the folks who live on the street. This is their church, right? Most 90-something% of the folks that come to Street Life Ministries, they're not going to sit in here on a Sunday morning. Okay, they're just not, right? Some of our folks haven't showered in 4 to 5 days. Some of our folks got schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety, PTSD. Over 50% of the people that we serve fought for this country, right? And they're riddled with stuff in their head that just will not allow them to sit still or sit next to somebody and feel comfortable. But when we're outdoors, where we have no walls around us, when we're and it's dark outside, and we are a late night dinner. For those of you who don't know about Street Life Ministries, we don't even start till 7 p.m. We finish at 9 o'clock at night. And there's a lot of comfort in that for our folks. A lot of comfort, especially now because it's getting darker earlier. Believe it or not, our numbers actually start to climb, right? Because there's a comfort in that. Feel kind of hidden a little bit, right? And then when you sit outdoors, I don't smell as bad as I do if I sit right here in the church where you know that I haven't showered for several days. Does that make sense? Right? So there's a lot of comfort in that. The other thing is, too, is if you really look in Scripture, if you look everywhere in the Bible, right, I don't see Jesus ever, in a building, right? He was in the temple once, or maybe a couple times, but that's not his church. His church is outside. His church is with the people. And that's what Street Life Ministries is. So what we do is we look for a heavy populated area where folks that live on the street pretty much are kind of at. And then what we're doing is we're partnering with a church like Rise City Church / AKA Tapestry, where Bethlehem AD is every Christmas season. So we partner with them because it's a private lot, right? And I don't know if you guys know this or not, but there's a lot of people today that try to make what we do not like we don't want it in our neighborhood. I know that you might find that hard to believe, but it's happening throughout the country. I don't know if you know this or not, but there's a lot of people trying to make feeding homeless illegal, right? Caring for those who have needs, where Jesus Christ clearly says in Matthew 25, 35 through 40, for what you do for the least of my brothers and sisters, you're doing that for me. So I don't see Jesus saying that it's illegal to take care of one another, right? I don't see that. So we won't stop, but what we're doing is we're asking God to show us ways where we can continue to do what we're doing so we can still be successful and out there in the community. And that's what we're doing is we're partnering with churches and private lots. Now, the Menlo Park train station, we've been there for 17 years. We're just kind of grandfathered into it because there was a few years ago where there was a situation where we were almost looking like we were going to have to close. But because of the grace of God, we're still there, and we won't leave. If we leave the Menlo Park train station, I guarantee you we'll never be able to come back. So we're not going to leave. I know a lot of you, how many of you, show of hands, have been to the Menlo Park train station? Okay. If you guys ever go to the Menlo Park train station on Tuesday or Thursday night where we're serving a meal, it's amazing because we're kind of like right in the midst of Atherton, Menlo Park, North Santa Cruz, the train station right there, Cafe Baroni, the library right there. It's like the richest zip code real estate almost everywhere, anywhere in the peninsula. We're right there, and that's where we meet. We serve 65 to 70 people that are living on the street. So to me, I think it's pretty cool, right? We still have people that get off the train, they're commuting, they get off the train and they'll see what we're doing, and like, what's going on? And we'll start to explain to them, they go, I've been commuting through here for 12 years. I never even knew you guys were here. I go, yep, every Tuesday and Thursday. The cool thing is that 6:55, you would never know that we're even coming. 9 o'clock, you would never even know that we've been there. It's so cool. But between 7 and 8:45, it's life. It's full, right? There's people that are coming out of the woodworks to be there for church, to be there for a meal, to get there and have a lot of their needs met, right? We serve 4 nights a week, 2 nights in Redwood City on Monday and Wednesday at the Bethlehem AD, Tapestry, Rise City Church lot, and then Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Menlo Park train station. We've been doing that for 17 years. We've been in Redwood City for 8 years, and Redwood Church has been there ever since the very beginning of that. We first met at the Salvation Army building over behind Broadway, and then we decided to move there and went over to Rise City Church, and that's been our home ever since. And then right before, if any of you are asking yourself this question, right before Bethlehem AD starts, we move kitty corner from there, and we go over to the Catholic Worker House, which is right behind El Goense's parking lot, and they open up their driveway for us for 3 weeks because obviously we can't be on the lot while the camels are there and the goats and the sheep and everything else, right? But it's a great partnership. So really quick, come here, son. This is my son, Isaiah. Come on, buddy. Come on. I need to get a spot where everybody can see you. So, he's getting so tall. My goodness, stop. Okay, so just want to give you an idea of what happens when you come to Street Life Ministries any given night, okay? So if you come to Street Life Ministries and say you're cold and you don't really have anything to wear, you get a jacket. Come on, there we go. We do this a lot together. You get a jacket, and one of the things like you guys are buying us, you get a backpack, right? Let's just see if this fits you really quick, okay? So you get a backpack. Let's put this on. There we go. Come on. There you go. Oops, wrong way. I'm putting it on myself. There you go. You get a backpack. Come on. There you go. Right? Now, for those of you, sorry about that. For those of you who don't know, turn around. For those of you who don't know, for those who live on the street, that's home. Okay? So remember, when you buy these backpacks, what you're doing is you're buying somebody their home, their travel kit. That's everything right there to somebody who lives on the street. Okay? Turn around. There you go. You get a sleeping bag. Okay? I'll put that right here so you don't have to carry it. Right? So if you give to Street Life Ministries financially, right? Now one of these at Big Five or Target or Walmart is $47. Okay? That's a lot of money for a sleeping bag, right? Right? For one sleeping bag. If you give to Street Life Ministries financially, we get them for $11. They're a 0-degree bag, and we get them for $11. We got a wholesaler that helps us buy those, and what we do is we buy 300 of them at a time. So, because we go through them, right? The wintertime especially. The spring and the summer time, we kind of back off on those. We don't really hand them out that much. And then shoes, everybody gets a pair of shoes. So we have a really good relationship with Big Five in Menlo Park, right? So Big Five in Menlo Park gives us 20% off of all of their clearance shoes. So what we do is we go in there, we spend about $2,000, and we get some new shoes for our folks. And what we try to get is like shoes that are kind of closed top, right? I got closed top, Sean. But not tennis shoes, right? Because the tennis shoes, what happens? You get wet, they get cold, and your feet start to freeze, right? So you get a cool pair of shoes. I'm not done. You okay? How you doing? You doing good? Here, I just want to keep you nice and warm. All right. So now we have two kinds. Let me see here. We have two kinds that are really good. One is we have the store-bought hat, which is really cool. We like that. We definitely like the ones that kind of go down, right? Because when they go down, what happens is you cover the most vulnerable spot on the body, the ears. The ears get really cold. I don't know if you know that or not, but the ears get really, really, really cold, right? Now, we like the store-bought ones, but the ones we really like are the ones that are homemade. The homemade ones work the best. So if you like to knit and make homemade ones, these are the best. Okay? Just so you know. And we like the homemade scarves. Because scarves work really good, huh, buddy? Scarves keep the neck warm, and the throat gets really cold during the wintertime as well. Here, look at that one. Huh? That'll keep you nice and warm. Because he's really, really cold right now. Yes, we're going to go to the snow. Okay? Oh, I won't make you put these on, but we do underwear. All right? You want to put these on? Okay. All right, so we do underwear, which is really important. Well, we do another scarf, too. There we go, just to make sure you're nice and warm. All right? And then what we like to do too is so everybody gets a toiletry kit. Now these we hand out a lot. Now matter of fact, we hand out so many of these and we have so many of them made that if anybody would like, I would give you as much as you want and you can carry them in your car. Okay? They're awesome gifts to hand out. Taylor had a group make a whole bunch of these for us, and I'm telling you, they're really cool. Every one of us, my wife, we have one in my wife's car. It kind of slides around a little bit, but they're the best thing to hand out, right? So you don't have to raise your hand because I don't want to shame you or judge you or whatever. But just think about it. How many of you in here have been at a red light at a stoplight or at a Starbucks or a gas station or a Safeway or CVS or wherever, and you walk outside and somebody says, hey, can you give me $5? Right? And you give them the $5, okay? We all do it. I've done it, right? And you walk away, and the first thing you're thinking to yourself is, man, I hope that person doesn't drink. I hope they don't go smoke crack or whatever with that money, right? Well, if you got to think that, what do you think is really happening, right? But I'm telling you, can't smoke this. You can't. You could. I've smoked a lot of crazy things in my addiction. I don't think I've ever smoked anything like this. And you can't drink it. Well, I guess you could eat the toothpaste. But I would hope they wouldn't, right? Because there's no alcohol in it. But you know what? It's a gift. And you know what? To be honest with you, for those of you who might have a few minutes on hand, this right here is a really good way to have a conversation. Because if I hand this to you, I'm giving you a gift, and within that gift, all of a sudden what ends up happening is you kind of think like all of a sudden, shoot, now this guy owes me like maybe 5 minutes of his time to talk to him, right? It's kind of like you kind of just bought yourself, a few minutes, right? And let me just tell you something. For those of you who are, following Jesus Christ faithfully, and you're really, really in love with Jesus, don't preach at somebody that you see on the street, okay? Because I'll tell you something. One thing that my wife and I have learned, and everybody in the ministry, almost 100% of the people that are homeless, they were shot down by somebody in the church. They were judged. They were shamed. They were guilt-ridden by somebody in the church. So what you can do is just have a light conversation with that person. And the one thing that everybody wants, even those who don't believe in God, you know what everybody really wants? To be prayed for. Everybody wants to be prayed for. And that's when you can say, well, I just want to let you know, when I pray for you, I am going to pray to Jesus Christ. Is that okay? And you'd be surprised. Really, you would do that for me? Absolutely, I'll do that for you. But that's a way to get the message, get the word of God to somebody, but at the same time not make them feel like, oh no, here it goes, right? And this is a great gift. And Menlo Church does these for us. They got their little logo thing in there, but we put like a little card in there that says blessings, or I love you, or Christ has saved you. How you doing? You doing all right? Yeah, he's so good, isn't he? And then when you come to Street Church, if you have like a drug and alcohol problem, we hand out Narcotics Anonymous and AA schedules, right? Which is really important. I go to AA. My wife goes to AA. My son has no choice but goes to AA. We have an AA family. And then, like I said, we're also we hand out these for the vets. We're part of the Veterans League out of San Carlos. It's a really good information for those. And what we try to do with a lot of our vets is if they know, most vets know what services they have, but what's happened is that they're turned off by the government because they feel like all of the stuff that's happening to them was happened to them by the government. So what we try to do is build a friendship with those folks, and then we go with them to the veteran centers, hang out with them, right? Hold their hand, so to speak, right? Just let them know that it's going to be okay. Then we hand out daily bread. That goes in all the backpacks, by the way. Everybody gets a daily bread. And then In Touch, right? And then they get an In Touch. And then we have some Christian tracts that we also have that we do. Can you put these on? And everybody gets gloves. There we go. That's right. Let's see. You have to leave this on all day. Okay? We're having lunch afterwards. That'll be all right? There you go. And then one of the most important things, okay? Now, I know we're asking for socks, right? We're still asking for socks? I saw the barrel outside, right? I did a little Facebook Live thing with Josh the other day, and I want to let you know I apologize for anybody who saw that. I'm not good. I didn't do good on the Facebook Live thing. Josh comes into my office all the time. He goes, hey, let's go do this. And I'm like, oh, shoot, right now? Yeah, like right now. So, but listen, socks are super important. Okay, let me, I don't want to gross you out, but I just want to give you the true facts about socks. Okay? Socks keep your feet dry. Not just warm, but dry, right? And what happens is a lot of our folks, they walk all day. all night. They're in their shoes a lot, right? What happens is that you walk all day, and you don't realize it because a lot of us, we have the comforts of being able to go home. We can change our socks. We take our shoes off. Our feet breathe, right? And we have that comfort in our life. But a lot of our folks on the street, they don't have that comfort. And what happens is when you walk all day long, no matter what type of the weather is, your feet sweat. What happens is when your feet sweat, the socks are absorbing that sweat. And then at nighttime, when it's cold, a homeless person doesn't have the comforts that a lot of us have where they can go home, they pull their shoes off, pull their socks off, your feet breathe, and everything stays healthy. What happens is they got to keep the shoes on because now it's cold. Okay? So then your feet dry. And then the next day they sweat. Then they dry. They sweat and they dry. And when we sweat, we give off what? Salt. Salt. Okay? Then your feet crack. Then your feet get sores on them. Then your feet get infected. Then your feet get gangrene. And then all of a sudden you're in the hospital and they're taking your toes off. They're taking your feet off. They're taking your ankles off. Right? So what we do is we promote a lot of these. We hand out over 5,000 pairs of socks a year. Okay? A lot of socks. There's a lot of cotton being used from us. And we need them. And then during the summertime, they also get these too, by the way, if we don't have a backpack or they don't want a backpack. But then we have some pretty cool blankets that we hand out. Because a lot of folks, I know you may or may not know. There you go, because I know you're kind of cold still. Right? There you go. There you go. But a lot of our folks, just say, you doing good? Yes, I love you so much. He's a good boy. A lot of our folks, they live on the bus. They live in the bus stations, right? Not to get into too much logistical detail, but a lot of our folks, they get harassed by young adults at night. Young adults who are trying to prove themselves worthy enough to be in a gang or a gang lifestyle. So what they do is they go and they beat our folks up, and then that's considered, hey, I just jumped myself into a gang. So our folks get accosted a lot. So what we do is a lot of our folks who want to stay away from that kind of drama, and they want to stay out of that trouble, they stay in the train houses, the bus stops, the train stations, like close to where there's a lot of light, a lot of activity going on, so the chances of that not happening are a lot higher, or the bus. So like the VTA, the Hotel 22 that runs from Palo Alto train station all the way to East Ridge. I lived on that bus myself personally for over 2 years. It goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, right? Or the KX that goes from, same thing, from Sand Hill Road, the Palo Alto station, we'll go all the way up to Mission Street, circle around and come back. Did that several times myself. It's a hotel at night. It's cold during the summer because the air conditioner's on, and it's warm when it's cold and raining outside. It's a safe place for some of the folks. The issue is that when the problem with the buses is that we have to sit up the whole time. You're not allowed to lay down. If you lay down, the bus driver has to either tell you to sit back up or he has to kick you off the bus. It's illegal for a bus driver to let you lay across the seat because if he slams on the brake, you fall off. You can sue the bus stop or you can sue Samtrams. So you have to sit up. Problem is that if you're heavy set or you have any kind of belly and then you're sitting all the time, you're putting a lot of pressure on your legs, then you lose circulation to your legs, and a lot of our folks end up losing their legs because of it. Homelessness is rough. For those of you who may or may not know, homelessness is rough, really rough. But one of the things that we try to add at Street Life Ministries is we try to bring people in, give them comfort, give them a hot meal. Have any of you guys ever eaten at Street Life? Come on now. The food is awesome. It's amazing. I love the food at Street Life. We serve the best food by far than any soup kitchen you'll ever go to, right? But that's kind of like that's our fish. That's our bait. Like, it's like kind of we cast that out, right? Like everybody knows up and down the peninsula at Street Life Ministries, you're going to get, a great hot meal. You're going to get a great side dish. You're going to get a salad. You're going to get a dinner roll. You're going to get hot chocolate during the wintertime. You're going to get iced tea during the summertime. You're going to get handed a plate of food by somebody who actually is there because they want to be there. They're not being paid or forced to be there, but they love doing what they're doing, and they're going to be friendly. They're sharing love right from the beginning, right, Micah? Huh? Micah and Zach they came down. You guys are in high school, right? That's when the banana guys were going. I love the banana man, but they came down there, and the same thing. I mean, just full of love, full of joy, full of kindness. And you know what? The folks on the street, they receive that really well, because a lot of our folks, for what you may or may not know, get off my bus, get out of my coffee store. You can't use my bathroom. I mean, there's nothing that says get away from my store more than a lot of these stores now. If you haven't noticed, a lot of these stores, what are they doing to their bathrooms? Key codes, right? Those key codes aren't because of us, right? Those key codes are saying, you can't come in here, all right? And that sends that signal, right? Get out of the front of my store. Why do you stink? Go get a job. You're a bum. You're a loser. All you have to do is tighten your bootstraps up. Go get a job. Our folks hear that stuff all day long. I know you might not think so, but they do, right? There is less than 1% of the folks living on the street that actually choose to live on the street. For anybody in here that may or may not think that, man, a homeless person chooses to be homeless. They don't choose to be homeless, right? No one would ever choose that lifestyle. And for that 1/10 of maybe 1% of somebody who's choosing to live that lifestyle, they can actually return home pretty quickly, I'm sure, right? I see a lot of people that kind of test that water with the homelessness, and then as soon as it gets a little rough, guess what? They go right home to mommy and daddy, because it's real out on the streets. It's no joke. It's real. And the thing is that what we do with Street Life Ministries is we try to offer that kindness, that plate of food. We have church, right? We have just like here, we have worship. We have really good worship. We have good pastors that are on rotation that speak throughout the whole year. And then what's happening is when the food is being served and folks are going up and getting clothes and shoes and they're eating their meal, then we have folks like my wife we have a really strict policy. Men work with men and women work with women, right? So my wife is the lead female outreach for Street Life Ministries. I have some other guys who are part of the male outreach aspect of the ministry. And what we do is we just go right into action, right? We sit down, we get a plate of food, we get a cup of hot chocolate, and we sit next to the person and just start having a conversation, right? A lot of the folks already know us because we go into their campsites. Like on Sundays, usually Sundays is family day for us to go into the campsites. We'll go drive around Redwood City and go, kind of do some house calls, right? And check up on people, see what's going on. My wife, for instance, it's really interesting. You had Support Circle the week before I got here, right? Which, let me just tell you a really quick story about some of this stuff that actually really happens on the street. My wife would tell this story a lot better than I can, but what happened was we had a Redwood City police officer. We're really connected to the Redwood City Police Department and the San Mateo County Sheriff's Department because we work with them because they don't want to enforce as much as they want to help. So they call us for the helping part, right? So a Redwood City police officer called and said, hey, they called my wife and said, hey, we have this woman. She's pregnant. She's about 6 or 7 months? 6 or 7 months on the streets, and she's using meth, and she's pregnant. And we don't know what to do. We can't, arresting her is not helping, but we don't know what to do. So my wife went in, we found out where she was. We have some other homeless people that actually will tell us everything about everybody else, which is really good for us. It helps, right? So my wife found out where this woman was living. So she went in her campsite, and she developed this friendship with this woman, and they started to sit with each other. Every day my wife would get off work. She'd go right to her campsite and start cultivating that relationship and building trust because this woman was scared to death, right? First thing when somebody comes to the campsite is, you're a cop, right? My wife says, no, I'm not a cop. I'm just here to share love with you. And then what ends up happening is, you can take that off if you're too hot. I'm sorry. Am I forgetting about you? Here. Everybody just give him a hand really quick. Here, go ahead. Go ahead. You go ahead. Wow, you are kind of warm. Wow, goodness. I should have just let you work for it a little bit longer, huh? Thank you, Isaiah. So what ended up happening was so really fast. So my wife ended up developing this relationship. And what happened is that my wife found out that this woman cared more about the pit bull that she was living with than the baby that was in her belly, right? I want to do something for this baby, but at the same time, I'm not going to receive your help or go into a shelter because I don't want to get rid of the dog, right? Seems kind of crazy, doesn't it? But that's what we deal with. So then my wife started to continue to build a relationship with her, and then they started talking about adoption. So my wife convinced her that maybe adoption would be the best option for your child. So then she connected with an agency called Bethany Christian Adoption Agency. So we were on vacation, actually, at my mom's house in Mendocino, and we get a phone call that she's in labor and she's giving birth to her child. So we got in the car and left, went down, came back home. My wife went to Stanford, and she was there with her. And then the baby went from giving birth into this adoption agency's hands. And not only did the adoption agency do an amazing job with handing the baby off to another family, but they also gave this woman, can I say her name? No. Anyway, no. So they gave this opportunity for this woman to actually choose the parents that were going to receive the baby, right? So she felt comfortable, right? That's the kind of stuff that this ministry does. That's the kind of care that we take care of. We want to be there for you and for anything else that's going on in your life, right? So, the unfortunate part about it is that this woman, unfortunately, is still stuck on meth, and she's still living on the street. She's still got her dog, right? But the good thing is that this baby is living with a very healthy Christian family and being raised right? Doesn't have to worry about eating, doesn't have to worry about, where it's going to sleep at night. And this family is loving this child, and they get the opportunity to have a child, right? I'm adopted, by the way, so I'm totally into adoption. I think it's great. But that's some of the stuff that we do. Am I about ready? Am I running out? No, am I good? I just want to make sure. So, as my wife would tell you, I could talk a lot. But the other thing is that one of the things that we also do is we, I don't know if anybody's ever heard of an organization or a company called Purple Tie. Have you ever heard of Purple Tie? They're a corporate dry cleaner. So they basically, they do Facebook, Google, and Box, and big corporation laundry, right? So we have made friends with one of the owners at Purple Tie, which is right here in Redwood City, and so they're hiring some of our folks. So we got one of our folks he's still living on the streets, but we got him into Purple Tie. He started off just sweeping the floor. He's already had 2 promotions and a raise, and now he's just entered into an apprenticeship where the guy who fixes all the laundry machines, is now, he's his apprentice, and he's teaching him how to do this mechanic work. And just last week, he started receiving his first time ever medical package. You know what I mean? And they're going to give him dental and vision. And he's, by the time he gets through this apprenticeship, he'll be making over $35 an hour. It's amazing stuff that's happening. But the cool thing about it is, the really interesting thing about it is because this guy's life has changed, everybody that knows this guy from the streets is seeing what's happening in his life. Now they're all standing in line going, hey, how do I do this? Right? That's what's cool. It's actually starting a trend with our folks on the street. Like, they're seeing that he's actually becoming successful, so now they want to know how to get involved in this, right? So that's cool. So it's kind of like being the salt of the earth, right? And he's just casting that salt out. And so it's really cool. So by you guys supporting us and being a part of what we do as a ministry, you guys are supporting individual lives that keep changing and changing and changing. And I'm honored to have you guys already a huge part of what we do. And I'd love to see what you guys can, what is in the future for this church. And I also ask before I close, and Matt pulls me off the pulpit here, if you guys can pray for us in regards with one thing. So we launched Redwood City 8 years ago. Last Wednesday, we just hired our new ministry associate who's going to be the leader of our 3rd location in Palo Alto. And then in March, we're going to launch our 3rd site in Palo Alto. And so it's huge. So we got San Mateo County, now we're moving into Santa Clara County, and hopefully we're going to go from Palo Alto to Mountain View, And then from that'll be Monday, Wednesday, Palo Alto, Tuesday, Thursday, Mountain View, and then we're looking to go into the East Bay after that. So we're growing, and God has put a lot of favor into this ministry, and He's connecting churches and stuff. And one of the things, I don't know if you guys, whoever's come down to Street Life, but one of the cool things about this ministry is, we have so many different denominations that make up our body, but guess what? Nobody comes down and starts tripping off of who's what, right? Nobody's wearing a Presbyterian hat and a Baptist hat and a Church of God hat and this hat. Everybody's just serving God. Everybody's just serving God through serving those who live on the street. And you guys are a part of that. And thank you so much for that. Thank you.